going, there it is. Okay, hello everyone, I'm TigerHawk23, and today we're going to look at some Python stuff. And that Python stuff that we will look at is the os.path module. Now there is a module called os, and when you import os you can work with os.path, or you can just import os.path. So, here's what we'll do. We're going to start the interpreter, that's important, and then we're going to import os.path as path. And that will import os.path and give this whole thing an alias of just path. So we can do path, and it's the, right now it's the ntpath module in particular, because being part of the OS module means it's related to the operating system of whatever machine you're running Python on. There are OS blah 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 blah. There's ntpath for Windows, as in, you know, Windows NT, which was a little bit after 2000. Before 2000? I think it was before. Yeah. Because there was some versions of Windows, and then 95 and 98, and then Windows NT, the new technology, which is kind of the foundation of all the Windows versions that we use right now are based on that. For Unix style stuff, it uses os.path, which is the kind of architecture of Unix, and MacPath for old style macOS paths. Old school, meaning before OS X, which I believe is being renamed to macOS or something. I don't know. But anyway, we're using ntpath because I'm using Windows. That's what I do. Let's look at some functions. Let's say our path P is see, users TigerHawk T3 documents. I think I have things in here, don't I? I believe. How about this? Documents, ebooks, and emulators.txt. So this is a path of a file. It is actually on my computer and is actually on my website. If you Google TigerHawk T3 ebooks and emulators, actually let me. If you Google TigerHawk T3 ebooks, you will see my article on ebooks and emulators. The nutshell version of that article is they are good. My sister actually just got an ebook reader, a Kindle, for her birthday. She has long been staunchly opposed to ebooks because she likes smelling the books and turning the pages, etc. And she doesn't know if the books she likes are available in ebook versions. But my parents got her a Kindle. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know she was okay with that. Anyway, you can actually read ebooks on your phone if you have a smartphone. You can just get an ebook reader app for free, and then get ebooks. Many of which are also free, especially public domain stuff. Thousands and thousands of free books. Anyway, abs path. In this path of my path P. What this does is return a normalized, absolutized version of the path name path. The equivalent to calling norm path by getting the current directory and path. So this is the same thing. Notice I started it as a raw string, and so when it wants to just give me the repro, which is what you get when the interpreter returns a value, and to the top level without saving it anywhere, you get you need to escape them all. That's what you got. Let's try os.path with just ebooks, whatever. I know I spelled that wrong. It doesn't matter. .txt. Let's say we had that. So what this is going to do is get the current working directory, which you can see is this, and it's going to add that on. So if you don't give it a path, then it's assumed to be like a local, a relative path, meaning that you assume you're already in the right place. Like if you try to open a file with open file.txt as f, if you do this, right, then it will look for file.txt in whatever you start with, which is this, and you can look it up with by importing os and os.get cwd current working directory, and that is, here we are. And you can os. This change directory, I believe, to C users, for example. And now we can get this, and we're in users. And then Tigerhawk T3. And then we can get it again, and now we're in Tigerhawk T3. Anyway. So os.path gets the absolute path of the file name, the location that you give it. So if you're using something relative with like just the file name, then that means you're in the current one. That's generally how file systems work. Like if you go to just your basic command line and you tell it to open some file name, it'll assume that you mean in the current directory. Base name of our path, and base name is like the name of the file, basically. Base namically. No. The second element of the pair returned by passing path to the function split, which we will get to later in this video. Note that the result of this function is different from the Unix base name program, where base name for /foo/bar/ returns bar. The base name function returns an empty string. If we have so this is that, and now let's add, oh, I can't, let's not use a raw string. Let's add one of these because I want to end with a backslash. So if you have a raw string, you can't end a string literal with a backslash at all. If you're using a raw string, it means you have no way to express a backslash at the end of your string. I mean, if you're not using, you can just do this and escape it. But if you are using a raw string, you have to literally just concatenate another string onto the end, or else it doesn't work. So let's get the base name for this. It's nothing, because it's a C and users, and then it gets the thing that's after the backslash, which is that's the end of the string. There's nothing, so it gives you nothing. Excellent. Working the way it's supposed to. If you ever have to work with path names in your program, if you're looking through a folder or finding the extension of a user's file name or anything, you use this module. not your own stuff, because it won't work. This is already debugged for you. os.path.commonPath, and in the sequence. How about, and this has to be a sequence, okay. How about P and C users no exist dot what's a fun extension? I don't know. How about something exciting, not txt, that's boring. XML, how about? Do not read XML. Just put it into the computer. That's what it's for. We do this, common path, and we get, doesn't it? Are you kidding me? Oh, I see. Hey, oops. New in versions 3.5, which I'm not using. So that's why that exploded. It's a good reason. Returns the longest common subpath of each path name in the sequence paths. Value error if it contains both absolute and relative, or if it's empty. Unlike common prefix, which we will look at now, this returns a valid path. So let's look at common prefix. Our path that we were looking at is C users Tiger Act3 documents whatever, and this is C users something. So the common path between both of those is C users for the common prefix, just like looking at it as a string. So let's give another example with that's a no exist. I don't know. Point is, it starts with a capital T. So we do this, and we get a capital T in here because it's a common prefix. Both of those strings start with this. Now, if we were using common path, which is new in version 3.5, and I'm not running that, so we don't have it, it would still be C users. This would be useful if you were just gonna like add a wildcard character onto the end there. But if you want like the most specific common folder, basically, that both of these things share, or that all elements of the sequence share, then common path would be what you want. Dir name. Path.dirname returns the name of the directory. And there we go. Now how about C users? Take that out and we do the backslashes all over the place. That's fine. Still C users, even though we have a backslash there. That's good. What was the one that would be empty? Oh, the base name. Yeah, that's empty. Okay. So we have this. How about let's do this, the common prefix with a T, and then let's get the directory name of the object that was most recently passed to the interpreter. I mean, like back to the to the shell for display, which is this thing, and is by default stored in the underscore. Let's get the directory name of that, and here we are. So here's a way to kind of mimic common path that we don't have yet. Just use common prefix and then get the directory name. And there you go. Exists. Where's that thing that doesn't exist? Wasn't there a no exist dot whatever somewhere here? Sure. I'm looking for a convenient little... Never mind. I'll just write it out. I don't care. Path.exists. P. Yeah. I made sure of that. 0 plus P. So this same thing with the starting with the 0. So 0 C colon backslash. That does not, of course. On some platforms, if you don't have permission to execute os.stat on that file, it may return false and say that it doesn't exist, even if it actually does. So sometimes this depends on your system and whether it needs permission to tell you anything about it. Starting in 3.3, path can be an integer, which is which corresponds to an open file descriptor. Okay. L exists. Equivalent to exists on platforms lacking os.lstat. Okay, I don't care. Expand user. Expand user. How about does that work? It does. Neat. That's the home directory. So let's do this. Slash documents. And we get this. Notice how we have backslash here, forward slash there. Technically, you can look around in your Windows file system with the forward slash, but it won't suggest that on its own to you. On Unix, an initial tilde, and this is what this character is called, a tilde, is replaced by the environment variable home if it is set. Otherwise, the current user's home directory is looked up in the password directory through the built-in module pwd. I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently you can import pwd and it will do something in there. Well, you don't have to, but it uses it. On Windows, home and user profile will be used if set. Otherwise, a combination of home path and home drive will be used. An initial tilde user is handled by stripping the last directory component from the created user path derived above. If the expansion fails, or if the path does not begin with a tilde, the path is returned unchanged. And here it did not fail. So that's great. Oh, return the argument with var. That's cool. Path.expand vars to expand the names of environment variables. What are some that I can use? I think there's one that I'm pretty sure of. Isn't there a user? So substrings of the form $name or $curly brace name are replaced by the value of environment variable with that name. Malformed variable names and references to non-existing variables are left unchanged. On Windows, you can also do %name %. So let's do the following. Expand, I think this is one. PyPath, I believe. Not sure. No. Maybe it's lowercase. No. User? No? Capital letters? I really don't know what my environment variables are. So I will look them up as soon as Windows finds them. Hello, Windows. Edit the system environment variables. Thank you. Environment variables. Great. Oh, it's Python. Python. And that's 3. Because I use Python 3. When I say Py, remember I started with py, it starts Python 3. Even though I have both Python 2 and 3 installed. I just have 2 because sometimes I want to check what people are doing and help them out, even if they're using Python 2, which is inferior to 3. That's why 3 exists. I don't know what these other things are. How about OS? Windows NT. See, it's all Windows NT. I'm actually not using the Windows NT operating system, the one that was released called Windows NT. But that's like the basic. It's the family of operating systems is NT. I'm actually on 8.1. But how about what else have we got? Path ext. Processor, identifier. That one sounds fun. One of those. And by this, they mean ancient thing from 2009 that doesn't really run virtual machines, like at all. Okay, so if you expand vars, it will expand the environment variables. So let's do path.expand user. What does this do? Neat. There's someone in chat. What's going on over here? And this was 10 minutes ago. Inari says CD home TigerHawk23 beard info. That directory does not exist. It doesn't need a directory because it's right here. What's next? Get a time. Return the time of last access of path. Oh. The number of seconds since the epoch. What? Time of last access of path. What am I doing that for? Path dot get a time. P is this. That's great. It's going up. No. It's unchanging. Okay. Oh, the time, not the duration since last access. So this is the time that was last accessed. Let's import DateTime, DateTime from timestamp, path get a time of p. Does that work? Last accessed this 2015 December 10th at 3:29 and 22 seconds and 49 this is 0.049 seconds. That's great. DateTime is something we will be looking at in another video. I guarantee it, because we've already used it in other programs. It's very handy. Anytime you want to work with dates or times or anything, DateTime. It's very excellent. Get mTime. Return the time of last modification of path. Let's actually print this so we have something a little nicer looking. Get mTime. Let's actually do A so you can see that's a nicer looking string there, huh? Inari says in chat that A time, the access time, is never updated on Windows by default, and might be the same as M time, which is modified. We'll do that. Doesn't remember the exact semantics, so I don't know how much meaning this function has on Windows, if it's at all useful, but it exists, and so here we are, and it's almost the same a tenth of a second later. So I don't know. I guess I modified it and accessed it together, kind of, and then didn't touch it. I don't know what else I would do. I probably like saved it and then closed it. I don't know. CTime. Return the system's CTime, which on some systems like Unix is the time of the last metadata change, and on others like Windows is the creation time for path. Oh, the creation, okay. Great. The return value is a number giving the number of seconds since the epoch. OS error if it does not exist. C. A couple, no, not even a couple, less than 0.2 of a second prior to that. So, I don't know. Last metadata change. I guess I saved it, and it says it was accessed and saved and modified. Or created, right? No, the metadata were changed, and the file was modified and accessed. Nearly simultaneously. Inari says that A time is almost always disabled on OSs because it violates the principle of least surprise. Oh, requiring a write every single time a file is read. Oh, so that would be, I guess, every time you look at a file, it would have to write something somewhere, which seems like a lot of writing. Probably not great. Seems like a lot of overhead. Get size. Path.getSize of p. It is 14651, and indeed it is 14K here. Let's look at the properties for something more specific. 14,651 bytes. Fantastic. So that is a true thing, the size of the file. Is ABS true if it's an absolute path name? On Unix, that means it begins with a slash. On Windows, it means it begins with a backslash after chopping off a potential drive letter. Is ABS? It is indeed. Let's try hello.txt. No, it is not an absolute path. Is file? Returns true if it's an existing regular file. Follows symbolic links, so islink and isFile can be true for the same path. This is not this is. Let's get the path dot dir name, which we have already looked at. Oh, false. Oh, I'm just barely visible. Let's move that down a bit. So the directory that holds this file is not actually a file. It is a directory. And now let's go the other way around and check if it's a directory. It is indeed. And how about the file? Is that a directory? No, it isn't. This is entirely unsurprising, which I really like. A symbolic link. Okay. Is link. It's not a symbolic link, it's a regular file. I don't know. Is mount, which tells you whether the path name in path is a mount point. A point in a file system where a different file system has been mounted. On POSIX, the function checks whether path's parent, path slash dot dot, is on a different device than path, or whether path slash dot dot and path point to the same inode on the same device. This doesn't make any sense to me. That's fine. Detects mount points, etc. On Windows, a drive letter root and a share UNC are always mount points. Oh. Path dot is mount. C. Will that work? I don't really know. Ah, C colon backslash. That's a mount point, because there we go. How about F? Yeah. And how about G? Yeah. And how about H? Yeah. And how about I? Yeah. I have a lot of drives in my computer. Are there any more? No, that's it for now. Of course, it's slightly more when I put a flash drive in there. Is mount join. This one is extremely excellent. os.path.join. We don't need this. We could if we wanted, because we imported OS, so whatever. Path.join. Path.dir name. We're going to get the directory name of P and the base name, which is like the actual file name of P. And we're going to put them together, and we get the actual file. Let's do this. Equals P, and it is. So os.path.join puts just folder names and such all together, joining it with the proper delimiter, which for Windows is a backslash, and in Unix is a /. Very good. On Windows, the drive letter is not reset when an absolute path component is encountered. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. There's a current directory for each drive. This represents path value relative to the current directory on C. Anyway, so if you want to join two things, you do this, and not not that. Seriously. Oops. My bad. See, because now you have the backslash, which is very good, and the backslash, and the backslash, and a /. Just, you know, hanging out, just because. norm case. Normalize the case of a path name. On Unix and Mac OS X, this returns the path unchanged. On case-insensitive file systems, it converts the path to lowercase. On Windows, it also converts forward slashes to backward slashes. Okay, so what this means, Unix and OS X have case-sensitive directory and file names. You can have a folder called music, like this, and a folder called music right next to each other, and it'll be fine, because that's case sensitive and it'll see them as different. If you do this on Windows, it'll say you already have that folder. What are you doing? It'll save your appearance that you choose. If you call your folder, you know, this, it'll forever be looking lowercase, but if you call it this, it'll look uppercase. But they are technically kind of the same thing, but it will retain your capitalization just to display it. So let's do path.norm case of p. So we have everything lowercase, and we have backslashes over here and over there. Let's do this path.norm case. Remember, this is that we put them together with a forward slash, but it all turned into backslashes. Very good. Collapsing redundant separators and up-level references. Oh, interesting. So there's os.path works fine, but I'm just gonna go with this. Path.norm path. It says it collapses redundant separators, meaning like if you have slash slash, it just makes that one. And up-level references. When you want to go up, like if you're at a command prompt and you want to go up one level, you go cd ... and the two dots is an up-level reference. That's what that is. So you could have let's do path.norm path c users, let's put a bunch of slashes in there, Tigerhawk T3, then let's go up, and then let's go back to Tigerhawk T3 and do slash documents backslash 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 backslash. That's 2 backslashes, not 4, because it's not a raw string. Books, and it doesn't really matter, but I'm typing more stuff. And we get the proper name. But it doesn't normalize the case. We can do path.norm case on what we just got, and we would get this same as the whatever. Real path. Return the canonical path of the specified file name. So by the way, this was, let's start here, and then we go here, and then we go here, and then we go up one level, so we're at users again, and then we go back down into here, and we continue, and then we have, you know, 2 backslashes, and then continuing on. So a real path eliminates symbolic links. I don't think I use symbolic links as far as I know. Rel path. There's a real path and a rel path. Interesting. return a relative file path to path either from the current directory or from an optional start. This is a path computation. The file system is not accessed to confirm the existence or nature of path or start. And start defaults to the current directory. Let's see what happens when I type things in. So that's great. That's the relative file path. Okay. SameFile. Return true if both path name arguments refer to the same file or directory. Oh. Path.SameFile P and P. They refer to the same one. How about let's do this. And the thing that was last returned, and they are the same. Great. I don't know. I don't know what I was hoping to accomplish. SameFile. So I guess if you were normalizing a path and maybe normalizing the case of it, etc., and putting things together, and you wanted to check whether it was the same file as a certain thing that you'd saved, I don't know, somewhere, then that's how you would compare it. Same open file, and you pass it to file descriptors, and it returns true if they are the same open file. I'm not even going to try that, because Windows doesn't like when you try to access the same file twice. Same stat. Return true if the stat tuples, stat1 and stat2, refer to the same file. These structures may have been returned by os.fstat, os.lstat, or os.stat. Instead of messing with those and having them return something, and then checking whether they're the same here, I'm going to just skip it. This function implements the underlying comparison used by SameFile and SameOpenFile. Great. Here's a handy function again. os.path.split. Check that out. We've got the directory, and we've got the base name. Notice how the slash between them is not there. If you want to put these together, that would be os.path. I don't need the os dot, but I can. I've imported both. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Path.join this. Does it need multiple arguments? I think it does. There we go. So we have this odd little construction. Join star underscore. I promise we're writing Python and not Perl. I promise. It's I mean, underscore is just a shortcut for the last object that was returned to the top level of the shell, and star is to unpack. Perl looks like this. This is Perl code. Okay, not really. This is Lisp code. Okay, not really. This is Java code. And that is really Java code. That's how you start a Hello World program. Notice how I use double quotes in Java. Oh no, you can't do that, can you? You have to declare it. No, you can't. Yeah, you can just put the literal in there, I believe. trying to remember how crazy Java actually is, or does it have some semblance of sanity? Oh, and RA says it can't be Perl because there aren't enough @ symbols in there. So, I have never actually used Perl. Fortunately, I stay away from Perl and PHP. Yeah, I think you can do this. So yeah, this is Java. Bleh. Now let's write some Perl. There. Maybe some more of those. Dot. I don't know. I am ungenerous. So split. os.path.split. Very handy. Because you don't want to do that stuff yourself. Depending on quirks of the file system and what it's named as, we will see in a couple functions. Split drive. Split the path name path into a pair, drive and tail, where drive is either a mount point or the empty string. Okay. Path dot split drive of P. And the mount point is C. And the rest of it is everything else. Easy peasy. And let's use path.join this again. So it joins it and doesn't give us extra separators. So it only has a single backslash. Isn't that fun? I'm pointing to 2 characters and saying it's a single backslash. Never use Mr. Backslash to end a sentence. Use a psychopath. That's a joke from Penny Arcade. They're looking at someone's angry forum post about video games, and the post that they show is it ends a sentence with backslash. Never end a sentence with Mr. Backslash. And it's being explained by Mr. Period, who helps you understand grammar stuff. And then they show Mr. Backslash, and he's crazy. Anyway, split drive, split ext. This is another very excellent function. Path.split ext of P, and this is the extension, and this is the rest of it. Now, why is this important, you may ask? Because if you had path dot base name of P dot split on period, let's just do that. So we have this and that. But what if we had what if our file name was file.txt.zip? Then we've got not only the wrong thing, because the actual file name would be file.txt and the extension is a zip file, but we have 3 objects here. So if we were, for example, unpacking them into something and looping over it, it would be too many values to unpack. Very bad. So use split ext, and you will avoid calamity. See? Check it out. Fantastic. You can technically, you can do this. You'll get the same thing, and then you can do this with that, and it'll, I mean, but don't do this. Don't do that. Okay? Don't do that. It's not there. Don't. Split UNC deprecated since 3.1. Use split drive instead. We won't go over it. It's only on Windows anyway, and it's deprecated. Supports Unicode file names. Does it? os.path.supports Unicode file names. Is this an attribute? No, it's. All the others have parentheses. This does not. Let's see if it's a function. It is not. True. So there we go. I can use arbitrary Unicode strings as file names within limitations imposed by the file system. So that's fabulous. And Ari says, drop mic. That's what I did. 12, 11, messages, viewers. Here we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So that's the OS module. And some things that I don't see a whole ton of use of in most situations, and other things that you should definitely use, like os.path.split, and os.path.splitExt, and os.path.join, definitely. Isdir, isFile, those are good to use. Like instead of trying to open a file to see if it exists, don't do that. Base name and dir name, good stuff. The big ones I think are join and splitExt. Very important. So I hope you all enjoyed, and tomorrow will be a game. I don't know which one. And the day after that is, let's see if I can find something. Maybe OS itself. os.path. No, that's much later on. File input, stats, file compare. No, I don't want to. Glob, Unix style path name pattern expansion. No, I want to use that. Bleh. sh util. No. MacPath. No. Pickle. Pickle could be good. We used that in the Star Trek Online loot parser. So it could be good to actually go over it in some more detail, maybe? Copyreg shelve is another one. Another way to save Python objects. Pickle is Python object serialization. Shelve is Python object persistence. And Marshall is internal Python object serialization. There's DBM, which is interfaces to Unix databases. Quotes not added. Quotes are actually in the table of contents here. SQLite 3. DB API 2.0 interface for SQLite databases. That's great. Maybe we'll look at Pickle. That's good. Instead of writing a text file with strings, and then reading that back in with like ast.literallyval, that sort of stuff, or parsing it manually, you just pickle it. You save the actual object as bytes. Zlib, gzip, blah blah blah, zip file, tar file. Probably pickle next. I don't know if we'll go over this compression stuff because I really don't care. CSV, definitely. Later. CSV is one of those modules that many people start out needing but not using because they don't know it exists, and they think CSV files are very simple, and I know how to do that. They're just separated by commas. But then you think of things like, what if one of the fields in your CSV has a cell with a comma in it. How do you tell it that it's one cell and not two? You put it in quotes, maybe, according to some languages anyway, or maybe you use a double comma or whatever. And what if your cell has a comma and a quote mark? Then what? And so there's all this messy stuff. CSV isn't actually an official standard of anything. It's just people wanted to make like tables, and so they're maybe I'll separate these values with a comma. Okay, that works. And eventually they started running into problems and then fixed them in whatever way they felt like. And by they, I mean lots of people. Not one person handling everything. So there's lots and lots of dialects of CSV. It's messy. You don't want to do it yourself. Use the existing module. Don't reinvent the wheel, because this wheel is very, very annoying. So yeah, tomorrow game, day after that pickle. Useful little module. Pretty good. Is it big? It is very long. Goodness gracious. Oh, it's a lot of explanation. Wow. Many things. That's a really long page. Goodness. Anyway, so that's the plan going forward. And thanks for joining me. Thank you, Inari, for joining me in chat and providing more background on the access time and modify time, that sort of thing. Pickle the game. It's you could pickle a game if your game is an object. You can just dump it into pickle. So I will see you next time. Thank you again, and have a good one.